Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Secure Insights, the podcast where we explore what's shaping cybersecurity today and what leaders need to be prepared for next. I'm your host, Tasneem Lokhanwala, and today we are diving into a topic that's top of mind for almost every organization right now: securing emerging technologies, AI, cloud native systems, and the next generation of cyber threats. Today, we are joined by Bob Fabian, former CISO at Santa Clara University and an information warfare commander in the US Navy Reserve, currently serving as a commanding officer supporting Naval Network Warfare Command. With over 28 years in cybersecurity and IT leadership, Bob brings a unique perspective across both enterprise and defense environments. Welcome, Bob. It's good to have you here.
Thank you so much. I am so glad, and I think it's a great honor and privilege to be here. So, uh, really glad to
Great.
be on your podcast today.
Awesome. So, to start us off, could you briefly introduce yourself a little bit and also tell about the work that you do and any experiences you would like to share with the audience?
Yeah, so I guess I've been in technology since 1997. I've been doing cybersecurity full time since 2005. So I guess it's been 21 years now, and mostly in the U.S. military, in the U.S. Navy, so the government, and the last 12 years Silicon Valley. So I've worked with a lot of high tech company, both startup and Fortune 500 companies as well. So. And especially, I think in 2019, I went to a specific startup in San Francisco directly where we use machine learning and artificial intelligence for customer support automation. And one reason why I wanted to work there was to really learn about AI, how it all works. So I'm so glad I did that because a few years later, as you know, AI pretty much disrupted every single industry around the world. So we are now living in the age of artificial intelligence for sure. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. So, to get things started and also to set the stage for our listeners, especially security leaders trying to make sense of what's changing right now.
Mhm.
So, from your perspective, how has the security landscape changed with the rapid adoption of AI and also cloud native technologies?
Yeah. So I I would say one of the biggest shift I am seeing is that speed has become pretty much the dominant force, right? Especially in high tech industry, and security, I think, is often kind of reacting instead of actually shaping the outcome. So AI and cloud native platform have dramatically lowered, I believe, the barrier for innovation, but they have also compressed the decision timeline, right? So threat actor now move at machine speed, not human speed. So I think it's a big problem if you still, leading your security function the way we used to do it 20 years ago when the bad guys are actually using AI for automation and really moving at machine speeds that you absolutely cannot keep up with. So I think we've gone from protecting static infrastructure to now defending dynamic autonomous systems that change continuously. So in the Navy, for example, right, we've never really deployed a system without understanding command, control, and fail-safe. Because one big difference I see between the Navy and the industry, right, if we don't do security right in the military, people might actually die, which is not the case in the industry. So security is extremely, extremely important. But in tech, I would say that we sometimes deploy first and then ask governance questions later. Most companies I've worked for, like I said, I've been in Silicon Valley for the last 12 years. No, we like to be first to go to market. It's really about the next sale and being the first to do something to maximize the sale and get the competitive advantage. But I think we do need to think about security. We need to think about safety when it comes to AI and ethics. That's very important as well. So I think leadership is crucial, and I believe that gap is kind of where risk lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And building on that, one thing we hear constantly is that organizations are innovating at record speed.
Mhm.
So, are organizations moving fast with innovation than with security maturity? Like, where do you see the biggest gaps today?
Yeah, I think I would have to agree with that because I think almost universally, right, across the industry around the world, innovation is rewarded, right? Especially here in Silicon Valley, that's for sure. But I think discipline is assumed, though. So I think the biggest gap show up, I believe, in identity and access, right? Especially non-human identities like APIs, agent, and service account, right? We definitely need to own in on that. And then also the model governance as well for AI. Who trained the AI, with what data, and who owns its behavior? Those are sometimes questions that nobody knows the answer for, and they still deploy it. And then also, I believe there is the human accountability, right? When automation makes decision, because AI cannot go to jail, right? AI cannot be accountable. So in your organization, there needs to be people who are accountable for the AI you are deploying. I think there should be at least three people that should be accountable. One would be a security guy, one would be a tech guy, and one would be the business owner. So I think that is very crucial. And sometimes organizations don't kind of think for that. So I believe security maturity is not about more tools, but it's about clarity of ownership, who owns it, decision rights, and also escalation path, and when something goes wrong. And again, sometimes people don't plan that before they just deploy AI.
Yeah. So if we zoom in on AI specifically, because there's a lot of excitement and also honestly a lot of confusion too. So
Mhm.
what are the most overlooked security risks in AI and machine learning systems that security leaders should be paying attention to?
In my experience, there are quite a few. So the most overlooked risk, I think, at a high level is really trust drift, right? Because people assume that AI output are correct because they are confident and articulate. So they just trust whatever AI algorithm they are using, that it is gospel truth, which many times it just isn't, because AI hallucinates quite a lot too. So some blind spot I am thinking about is like, the training data poisoning. That's very important, because AI can only give you what it knows, right? And also something about the data is, whatever data you train your AI, let's say when it really went big a few years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, that data might be completely obsolete now. So you need to make sure you are updating the data to what is current, right? The model inversion and leakage too, because sometimes people might be able to find out the training data you used by asking specific question and going around it to actually reveal what they learn. And sometimes they could get access to personal information. They could get access to your private confidential database that you use for the training, and a lot of things like uh, like that. And then, of course, there is shadow AI as well. People in your organization will be using AI just straight from the Apple Store or a website, when it hasn't been reviewed, vetted by the security team. And then the other thing I'm thinking about is also the lack of auditability, right, in model decision. Many times the AI models that we deploy are kind of like a black box. Nobody has any idea how in the world it makes decision. And I think that is a problem. So I think AI doesn't just introduce technical risk, and most security
Mm.
professionals are very, very familiar with anything that's technical. But I think there is also cognitive risk, right? For example, the way we tend to just trust AI blindly, and I think that is definitely a problem. And I could expand on that if you wanted, but that is definitely something we need to be watching out for.
Yeah, I agree. So, and of course, there's the other side of it also. Attackers are even evolving just as quickly. So,
Yes.
how are attackers exploiting AI today? Like either by targeting AI systems directly or by also using AI to enhance their attacks.
Yeah, so I think most hackers are doing two things very, very well. One is they use AI to scale the attack. It's not like in the old days where it's one person, and they have to be awake. They have to have strength and energy, and they attack one system at a time. Now with AI, you can just scale that, right? Like with phishing, with deepfakes. Like, even I've written a lot of article about this. Even expert today, they can't really tell the difference between reality and something that is completely made up by AI, including even the chief AI architect from Meta. But anyway, it does happen to all of us, and you have to have a really specialized tool to be able to tell for sure this day. But when it first started a few years back, it was pretty easy to know this picture is AI, it's all fake, because somebody would have
Mm.
like 6 fingers or things like that. But all,
Yeah.
all of those anomalies, they no longer exist. They look just like reality, and it is quite scary, even for our democracy too, now, because when you think about all of the fake news and the propaganda that a lot of organizations like to put out there to get people to feel one way or vote one way, something completely untrue. It can be very, very scary because our people need good data in order to make good decision. But sometimes with technology, you can kind of push them to go one way or the other, right? Social engineering and malware development as well. So that's one thing, right? So using AI to kind of scale attack. And the other thing I'm thinking about is really targeting AI system themselves, right? Which you mentioned, like with prompt injection, data poisoning, and abusing over permissive APIs. That's another thing. Many times security professionals don't realize how much permission their APIs have. Like everybody who's done security for any length of time, one of our core principles, right, is having the right level of permission at every level, not more than you need. Least privilege access is really a core foundation for security, and that applies to AI and to the APIs as well. So we are really seeing artificial intelligence used not just to break system, but also to manipulate human trust at scale. And that's very dangerous. I don't think we've quite been at this place before in the history of technology. So,
Right. So as AI is also getting like going to be embedded into everything now, like products,
mhm.
platforms, operations, security actually can't
Yeah.
be an afterthought. So, like for you, what does secure by design look like when building or deploying AI-driven applications or something?
Yeah, so secure by design, I think, is really key going forward. And also because there is an element of safety with AI, especially in the military, where AI could be making a decision to actually kill a target. So crucial. So security shouldn't be an afterthought, but it should be baked into the process. So when I talk about security by design, I'm thinking about security being involved at model selection and data sourcing as well, right? Clear human in the loop control. I think that is so important. You can just delegate everything to artificial intelligence. So continuous validation, not just a one-time testing when you first start your deployment. It has to be continuous, right? And then you also have to, I believe, define failure mode, right? What happens when the model is wrong? What do you do? Right? What is your incident response plan? What is your playbook when that happens? Really thinking ahead. So in military term, it's really where no system is autonomous without rules of engagement, and I think that's what you kind of need to have to ensure that your AI system is secure by design, and then you continue monitoring it.
Okay. So let's shift into cloud native environments now,
Mm.
because for many organizations, that's where the real complexity lives today.
Yes.
Containers, Kubernetes, and serverless architectures promise
Mhm.
agility, but what new security challenges do they introduce?
Quite a lot. Because this modern infrastructure, the challenge, I think, is not technology per se. I think it's really everything is so ephemeral, right? It's ephemerality, meaning they have all of those assets, but they don't last a long time, and so many of them, and they scale. So it's not like in the old days where you can just go and scan all of your system. You can't know. It's humanly impossible to know how many assets you have out there exactly, and what they all do, because those assets, they appear, they disappear faster than traditional security tools can track, right? It's just not humanly possible. So some key risks, I believe, include overprivileged workload, right, and insecure images and supply chains, and poor visibility into the runtime behavior. So I think you cannot protect what you cannot see. So many teams, I guess, they don't actually see their cloud environment clearly, and I believe that is a problem.
Right. So, and even though cloud native is becoming the standard, we still see a lot of teams struggling with implementation part. So, where
Mhm.
do organizations most commonly struggle when securing cloud native workloads?
Yeah, I think there is one crucial confusion in my experience with shared responsibility, right, between the organization and the companies that handles the infrastructure, whether it's AWS, Microsoft, Google, Oracle, or whatever uh, com- company you use. So I think many leaders, they kind of assume that the cloud provider has everything covered, which is absolutely not true, right? In reality, the provider, they only secure the platform, they secure the infrastructure. You, the user, you, the organization, need to secure your configuration, your identity, and your data. Right? Amazon may provide you infrastructure as a service, but whatever platform and virtual images that you run on top of that, that is your full responsibility. So I think misunderstanding that boundary creates systemic risk. So security professionals definitely need to be well aware of what their responsibilities are, and making sure that they ensure that whatever services they are running on top of the platform are secure to their standard.
Right. So now, if we take a step back, like it's not just technology evolving; threat actors are also evolving too. How
Mhm.
are threat actors adapting their tactics to take advantage of emerging technologies?
Yeah, that is a very good question. Before I answer that, the other thing I will add from the previous question, three things about shared responsibility. I think it is quite important. One is there needs to be a consistent security baseline, right? That's very important. And then also centralized visibility, where you have one dashboard where you can see everything within your environment. I think that helps too. And then also clear accountability across teams. Accountability, I believe, is key, because multi-cloud without governance, I believe you're just asking for trouble, right? It is multi-risk. Okay, talking about the evolving threat, I think the threat actor, they kind of just follow the opportunity, right? They just take advantage of the opportunity presented to them with this new technology. So they are targeting, I believe, a CI/CD pipeline. They are exploiting the API sprawl. No, it's everywhere, and many times they have more permission than is actually required to get the job done. And they also leverage AI generated views that bypass traditional detection. So they don't really need 0 days like they used to, when misconfiguration are everywhere, right? So I think that's definitely something the security team needs to really on making sure that everything you have out there is properly configured. I think that it will significantly decrease the chances of your services being hacked.
Right. And that, of course, naturally raises the question of who's being targeted and where the biggest risk is building up. So, do you see certain
Mhm.
industries or use cases becoming more attractive targets or because of AI or automation?
Yeah, like I say, threat actors are quite opportunistic, and of course, today when people act, it's all about making money. Whereas, back in the days in the 90s, prior to 2000, most threat actors, they just wanted to have glory. They wanted to be famous and be known. Yes, I have act NSA or the FBI or Microsoft or whatever. I am on a newspaper. I am very, very smart, and maybe one of those big company of the government will hire me. Today, that's not the case. Today, they want to hack you because they can make so much money, right? So I think some of the low hanging fruit I see, for example, in healthcare, they have a lot of very, very important information, PHI, and sometimes they don't have uh, very good, robust security requirement or organization to protect that. I think the financial services, again, they are going after money there. Uh, Even it's very difficult to hack, for example, the Department of Defense in the US. However, you could easily hack a defense adjacent supply chain, like a small contractor for the DoD who may not have all of those security control in place, but who has access to some very important, sometimes even classified data from the DoD, and through them you may be able to get access. And another industry I'm thinking about is energy as well. So basically, anywhere AI and automation intersect, I think no, with mission critical operation, that really becomes a high value target these days.
Okay. If we bring all this into practical territory now, because I'm sure a lot of listeners will be thinking, okay, what do I do with all this? So,
Mhm.
what practical steps can security teams to take today to stay ahead of threats tied to emerging technologies?
Well, I think for practical steps, from my experience, I'm thinking of three things. The first one is inventory reality, right? Because it's very difficult these days with AI to know exactly what your inventory is. But I think that is one of the most important thing for security because you cannot protect what you don't know you have, right? So I think that is really, really, really key. Your inventory, and then the other thing is uh, okay, but maybe one thing I am going to add there, just to be very, very descriptive, the security team should really identify where AI is embedded, not just branded, but where it's actually embedded. Who is using external AI tools within the enterprise? What data is being sent to the model? Which APIs, agent, copilots, and automation exist? Where AI influence decision, not just workflows. So you do need to know that. Well, that include maybe your SaaS tools with AI features turned on by default, developer use of public, large language models, maybe marketing, HR. They use a lot of tools embedded with AI there. Maybe finance, all of those tools might quietly ingest sensitive data and you may not be aware of it. Right. So security tools themselves also are using AI now. Basically, everybody is branding all of their tools with AI so they can sell. So you do have to be aware of where your data lives. Now, to be practical about that, I think network and API traffic analysis for AI endpoint that should be helpful. Identity-based discovery, who is calling which model when, and cloud native telemetry for all of your AI services. Policy-backed disclosure requirement, right? Declaring AI use, I think, is crucial these days. And then also the regular AI discovery drill, not just a one-time thing, but you have to do it frequently. Basically, again, like I said earlier, if you don't know where AI touches data or decision, you don't have an AI security program. No, you have a lot of assumption. And many times, like I talked about the trust drift earlier, people tend to trust AI because they think it's authoritative and it's quite confident in the result it gives you. But no, you do have to audit, and do it frequently. So that's number one. So number two, I think there are also uh, security professionals should treat AI like a privileged insider, right? Like in the military, we talk about insider threat all the time. And I think AI is very similar because AI systems are often trusted more than humans for some reason. And yet they are governed far, far, far less. So it's really trust, but verify. So AI system, they can access sensitive data. They can make recommendation. They can trigger action. They can operate continuously, nonstop, 24 hours a day. They never get sick and they keep going. They never get tired. And also, ethics is not part of our AI work. So that's exactly our privilege insider in corporation behave as well. So I think you need to treat them that way. I think what this mindset shift changes is if AI is a privileged insider, it must have least privilege access. Again, that's a very, very foundational rule for security, principle for security, strong identity, and continuous monitoring, clear scope of authority, and also audit trails, audit, and then immediate revocation capability when needed. You need to have the ability to do that. No exception whatsoever. Just because the AI is by Microsoft or OpenAI or whatever, it shouldn't be trusted. So you do need to trust, but verify. So some of the practical controls I am thinking about is like, separate the identity for each of the model you use, the agent and the service. Don't share any credential across your enterprise. Output validation and also the confidence threshold for each output you receive. Mandatory human approval for high impact action, that human oversight we talked about, and rate limiting and anomaly detection as well. And then also having that kill switch for misbehavior or drift. You need to be able to do it quickly if needed. So to me, the bottom line there is if an AI can recommend firing someone or approving a transaction or blocking access, it deserves more scrutiny than a human admin. So you do have to govern that AI within your enterprise. And then the last thing I'm going to mention is invest in leadership, not just in tooling. Because I think right now in the age of AI, what is critical is not just technology. Yes, technology is important, but I think even more important than that, I think, is leadership. Because AI cannot really, in my opinion, replace human, but AI will reveal the lack of the presence of leadership. I think the problem for many organizations is they keep buying AI security tools, but they avoid the harder work. And the harder work is decision ownership. Who owns the decision? Ethical clarity, right? Cultural discipline and the accountability piece that is so key. Tools, they cannot replace judgment. AI cannot do that. So I think leadership investment should look something like training leaders on cognitive risk, because like I said earlier, it's not just technical risk, but it's cognitive risk as well. Leaders, they need to understand automation bias. What is it? What does that look like? Authority illusion, right? Trust drift, which I mentioned before, and over delegation to AI system, because AI failures are often human failures first, right? So I think every AI system must have a business owner, like I mentioned, a technical owner, and a security owner as well. If no one owns it, then no one governs the AI system. And like I said earlier, if AI does something wrong, right, we cannot send AI to jail. But a human being, we definitely can do that. So I think we really need to think about governments before deployment. So, like in the military, I like to think of defining some rules of engagement. So, leadership must answer, what decision can AI make alone, and what decision must be still be made by a human being after the AI does all of the research and provide recommendation. So where is human approval mandatory? What happens when AI is wrong? And who is accountable when harm does occur? Because silence, I believe, is also a decision. Uh,
Right.
and usually silence, I believe, is the wrong decision. And I'm going to end with this. It's really about the cultures that you are building within your enterprise, right? I believe culture is really the control plan. The most resilient organization, in my view, they encourage questioning AI output. They reward escalation when needed. They protect the whistleblowers, and they also treat AI incident like safety incident, right? Not just IT ticket. So that doesn't come from tools, but I believe it comes from leaders modeling behavior. So they definitely need to be a leadership, a crucial leadership element to the way we handle and deal with AI.
These are some really great practical steps. Thank you for sharing them, Bob.
Mm.
So, I think one of the hardest parts is keeping security aligned with the business and without
Mhm.
slowing the innovation down. So, how should organizations balance innovation speed with security without slowing business outcomes?
Well, I guess that's really the $1 million question. Definitely Silicon Valley, where I am, a lot of the startup, they really move at the speed of light, really the speed of thought. And sometimes you do need to slow down a little bit. But I don't think security should be a blocker for the business, right? I think security shouldn't slow innovation, but security should enable safe speed. Yes, you have to be fast, but you have to do it in a safe and secure way. So what that means for
Right.
me, and I've written an article about that on LinkedIn, is really having some guardrails, right? Not a gate that stop the flow, but a guardrail. Between these two guardrails, you go as fast as you can. Just don't get outside of this guardrail, right? And then having defaults that protect, right? So by having security baked into the entire process, and then leaders should also reward responsible behavior, right? So because I think speed without control is not agility, it is fragility. Eventually you're going to get into a lot of trouble. So that's what I would recommend.
Right. So before we wrap up, I want to look ahead because what leaders do now really determines how prepared they'll be in the next few years. So
Mhm.
looking ahead 2 to 3 years from now, what emerging security risk concerns you the most? And what should leaders start preparing for now?
I think when it comes to AI system, probably one of the things that keeps me awake at night is really the normalization of unchecked autonomous decision making. Uh, I see that a lot in the industry, but especially in the military, it's not something we can allow, especially when we make decision for life or death. There absolutely needs to be a human oversight, human in the loop. Because if we don't establish governance, we don't establish ethics and accountability, because it's not just technology for technology's sake, right? We need to think about those things. What about privacy? What about security? What about safety? What about ethics, right? If we don't do those things now, I think we are going to inherit systems that no one fully understands. They complete black box, but everyone depends on and trusts. And I think that is a crucial problem.
Right. So, all right, Bob, like a quick lightning round before we close.
Mhm.
One security myth around AI or cloud native systems you'd like to debunk.
Yeah, I think it's this thing that AI will replace security professional. I believe on Google and Meta, they tried to do that. They laid off a bunch of their software developer because they thought AI was going to do all of the coding for them. But for example, Google, there is a very big story that happened. It was last year, right, where the AI system deleted an entire hard drive permanently. Now, the AI system was sorry about doing that, but they're not going to get their data back. So now Google and Meta are hiring those software developer back because it may have worked like in a lab, a small scale project, but when you do it in production, touching live data, it just doesn't scale. We need human in the loop. So I believe that AI will replace security professional is just not true because it will not. But I believe AI will expose leaders who lack judgment. That's for sure.
Understood. And last one for all the CISOs and security leaders listening in, one piece of advice for them navigating this rapidly evolving space.
I think we, as security professional, we need to lead with visibility, transparency, right? Because technology changes very, very fast. But trust, accountability, and leadership discipline are timeless. So I believe that's just my opinion, but the most critical um, skill in the 21st century, in this age of AI, is not really technology, but it is leadership. Because the future of security isn't just technical; it is human. So that's the most important lesson for me right now.
That's a really great piece of advice.
Okay.
Thank you so much for joining us. This was an incredibly insightful session. I am really honored to have you here. And to everyone listening, thank you for tuning into Secure Insights.
Good. Thank you so much for having me.